Hello, Wondrous. You said various interesting things there. Now, you didn't actually say that skepticism had no error bars, but I think you kind of implied that. So let's talk about that first. You pointed out that skepticism is basically always asking this question, why? Wondering more. We'll take that as an approximation, not the exact question necessarily, but good enough. I think that's a good, succinct approximation of skepticism. Now, the error bars of skepticism we have to remember. Okay, first of all, these are things we want. It's not like, ooh, mistakes, we don't want to make them. No, there's always an error bar. There's always an error bar. There is no question about if there's going to be one. We're not trying to avoid there being one. We're trying to figure out what it is. Now, let's take this question, why? What would be the error associated with always asking the question why? Well, when are you asking the question why? In some life situation. So the error inherent in asking the question why in a life situation is that there's some situations where the question why is not the predominant question. Okay, so for example, you see a small child getting attacked viciously in the street. The question why is not the pressing question. The question is how, and do you stop, and the attack. How do you stop the attack? That is the question. Not why. To the degree that you have a philosophical system that would make you pause and go, let's find out all the information. Well, who's their parents? And let's find, gather, well, no, there's a pressing need for action. So there's an error. And then to the degree that there's an error, uh, yeah, there's implied that in certain situations where the error bars are big, yeah, we're going to need other systems. And in fact, even where the error bars are small, you probably want to have other systems to get other points of view. Skepticism itself is not the only point of view, and that makes sense. Skepticism is an inherently relativistic uh, point of view where you take into account other systems and you're curious about them. Okay, so so that's the error. Now, some people might be somewhat a bit too clever about this. And, oh, well, then the error bar, that's the real answer. Look, the answer is between there and there. That's the absolute answer we were looking for. No, because the error bars themselves have error bars. And the error bars of the error bars have error bars. And there's errors of the errors of the error bars that the error bars have. And it goes on and on and on like that. And, you can make statistical analysis and say, well, yeah, but the way the error is, that every once in a while, like here's the technique in this error analysis. What's a common technique? Oh, well, we overestimate there. Just overestimate it. That way the calculation we make, we know we're going to get numbers. But every once in a while, we will get a number with a bigger error than we anticipated because of the error bars of the error bars of the error bars issue. And, but statistically, you can say, well, we've got it down, so that's only happening 1 in 1 million times. So we can take that into account. Right? But they're still there. There's still these errors, the errors, the error bars, including with skepticism. And obviously, you found this because you see that there is a need for something more than skepticism. And this is the point about we want the error bars. These are not mistakes we're trying not to ever make, with the error bars being zero, right? We're trying to calculate the error bars, and that includes if we know we lack data. It's like if we've seen one star with a planet around it, we don't say, hey, all stars have planets. And we got to look. We need a bigger statistical sample to get a handle on these odds so we can do some comparisons and calculations, right? So on the other thing there, you mentioned, but you didn't get into this question since we were talking about materialism. How do you justify sharing an apple? I find that's an interesting question because a lot of people have the reaction, why even ask that? Geez, you should just be compassionate. Well, I am just compassionate. I just share my apple. I've done it my whole life. I was a kid. I hadn't thought of any philosophical questions, and as an adult, well, I do. I don't think about it. I share my apple, why I like other people, whatever. I just feel like sharing it. But that doesn't mean we should just accept that. We ought to have a justification for it. And if it's so obvious that some people want to say, well, it's just obvious, we don't need a justification, that's not how obvious works. Obvious works like if it's obvious, should have a really easy justification. And the fact that we're struggling with the justifications for things like that for so many thousand years is important. And there are justifications and there are reasons and there are explanations for how we're thinking. And it's good to delve into those, even if we just express them automatically or they're emergent behavior from our brain. Then okay, let's explain them. Maybe we don't even have a choice. We're evolved. Fine, and then that's the explanation we'll pursue, or one of many. So that's why I throw a question like that in there. But Yeah, I think that's that. I have more to say on the material and physical, but I think that's another video. All right, cheers.